In today's video, I'm going to be outlining a typical week of training for me, and I'm going to include pretty much everything that I would typically do in a week. To start the video, I want to give a little bit of background about myself. In case you don't know about me, my name is Christopher Perez. I started competing in powerlifting around 7 years ago, end of 2016-ish. I did my first meet. The following year I competed again, and then I took around 2 years off because of some pretty bad back injuries that I had. Since then, I've been pretty much good. So I've got about 5 years of powerlifting training under my belt at this point. The last 2 years or so, I've been competing at a higher level. I've been doing national level meets since 2022. I won the Junior National Championship in 2022, and then I proceeded to win my pro card later that year. So I am a professional powerlifter and full-time powerlifting coach at this point, and I'm going to take you guys through a typical week of training for me. So just to give a little bit of background about my training, I used to train in very, very long blocks. I used to train in 8-week blocks. I think the normal is more like 4 to 6 weeks. I've had a lot of success with the 8-week blocks, but I definitely think that there's some room for improvement as far as my program. And so when I started working with my current coach a couple months ago, we decided that it'd be a good idea to try a 4-week block, which is a more typical time frame that most powerlifters train in. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And so we're going to start with week 4, the heaviest week of the last block that I just completed. And we're going to start with day 1. So my day 1 is a heavy SBD day. I do all of my heaviest top sets of the block, essentially. So I've got singles right now. I do singles for a lot of the year. And so here I am warming up. I typically start with the bar, but I didn't film the bar or one red. But here you see me doing 2 reds, which is 120 kilos, 264 pounds, 3 reds, 170 kilos, 375 pounds, 4 reds, 220 kilos, 485 pounds, and now here is 250 kilos, 551 pounds, 267 kilos, 589 pounds, and so that's my last warm-up of the day. And now here we got my top single of the week, of the block essentially. This is 282.5 kilos or 622 pounds. This is a lighter block for me. We're essentially trying to build every single block. And so I'm gonna squat something heavier, hopefully into this block, and then something even heavier than that. The following block, this is 622 pounds. Moved pretty smooth. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. One of the biggest things that we've been working on is my control, my bracing, and just being overall just a little more patient with my squat. I tend to rush my lifts a lot, right? I like to get in and get out. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time standing there holding the weight. And one of the cues that my coach has been having me work on is just to be a little more patient, right? Take a little more time with my walkout, take more time with my bracing, don't rush my reps. And so I think this is one of the better executed reps that I've had, especially at this weight, at a 600 plus pounds. Now, here we're moving on to bench press. So I have a heavy single on bench press as well. This is me warming up with 120 kilos. So this is 150 kilos, 331 pounds. 170 kilos, 375. And my last warm up, 182. Actually, no, not my last warm up. 402 pounds right there, second to last warm up. And now my last one, 192.5 or 424 pounds. So I could tell that I was feeling pretty good on this day. This moved really well. And so I proceeded to take the high end of the range for this particular week. My coach does give me ranges on this particular day for my heavy top sets. And so I took the heavy end of the range, or the high end of the range. So this is 202.5 kilos or 446 pounds. This is about 10 pounds under my all-time PR. And actually the most that I've ever hit in a competition. So here I am getting set up. And yeah, that was pretty good. Overall, I was really happy with that. I mean, this is probably like the 3rd time I've ever touched this weight or above. And so it moved really well. And for a lighter block, I'm really happy with it. My pause probably could have been a little bit better, but it really wasn't terrible. So overall, really, really happy with the execution on this bench press. Bench has been going really, really well. And now we're going to be looking at deadlift. So I've got a heavy deadlift single today as well. Similar warm-ups as the squat, 2 reds, 3 reds, 4 reds. But now I'm jumping straight to 5 reds, so 595 pounds. So far, everything's moving really good, and I'm really happy with that. 300 kilos, 661 pounds. So this is my last warm-up of the day. Moved really, really well. I was really happy with that, to be honest. Took a pretty, decent jump to 320 kilos, or 705 pounds. Now you'll see me here setting up. I tend to fidget a lot. It takes me quite a bit to find my positioning, get my foot stance exactly how I want it. Alright, any day now. And there you go. That was actually really nice. That moved super well. I tend to have an issue just generally with heavier weights. I just tend to really mess things up when things get really heavy. My form tends to fall apart, and I felt like I did a really good job here, just maintaining my position, being pretty, patient, or more patient than I typically am. I thought my wedge was good, and I think the overall execution of this lift was actually really good, right? For 705 pounds, this is about 20-ish pounds under my all-time, or something like that, 20, 30 pounds under my all-time PR, and it moved really good, so I'm feeling overall really good about that. Now we've got my top set of 8, my volume set, 584 pounds for 8 reps. I've done it quite a bit more than this. I've done low 600s, something like that, 606 maybe, for 8 reps. Like I said, this is a lighter block, and so I want to keep the weight manageable, something heavy, something that's going to challenge me, but not something that is going to be super, super difficult, so I can come back into week 1 feeling pretty good and ready to train again. Alright, and here is some of my back down work for bench press on this day. I forgot to mention it earlier, but I don't have any back downs on squat on this day, just the top single. But I do have back downs on deadlift and bench. So here's me doing 5 sets of 5 at 160 kilos or 353 pounds. And like I said, I want to show everything I do in a typical day, right, or a typical week. And so I'm going to show a lot of stuff that maybe I don't normally show on my Instagram or on my YouTube. So here's me doing some belt squats. This is around 600 pounds for 10 reps. This is actually something I've been doing for about 2 months now. I don't have a lot of experience with it, to be honest, and so I'm getting better at it every single week, technique-wise, and just getting stronger at it. This is actually the first session that I threw on the knee sleeves, and actually felt way, way better. Makes sense. Feels way better on competition squat. Feels really good on regular belt squat. So I know I can continue to push those, especially if I throw the knee sleeves on. And now to round out the session, chest supported row machine, 3x10 on this. At this point of the session, I'm dying to go home. I'm completely destroyed. I'm tired. I'm beat up. I'm hungry. So I'm really trying to get through this. Alright, so now we're going to move on to day 2. And so day 2 is a volume squat and volume bench session for me. I do some higher reps on these days. I have found that I need to keep in some higher reps on all 3 lifts on at least one day. And so this is the day where I do the higher volume squatting and bench pressing. So starting the day with a really nice PR, 240 kilos, 529 pounds for 7 reps. I have never hit this weight for this many reps. I have done 560 for 5, I've done 585 for 4, or 575 for 4, something like that. But once again, very, very happy with my execution on this. I maintained my positioning. I was relatively patient. I thought my bracing was pretty good. And so, this was one of my best sets, at this weight and this many reps. So really happy with this overall. And I definitely had some more in the tank. Ended up being not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Now, my bench press, I have a top double on this day, and I chose to do 407 pounds for this top double. Moved really smooth, really well. My bench press, like I said, has been really feeling good. And now, 157.5 kilos. 3 sets of 8 for my volume work today. I believe this is a PR. I've done 160 for one set, and I've done 155 for multiple sets. I believe this is the first time that I've done a 157 for multiple sets. So that felt really good. Now we're moving on to my accessory work. Today I have a lot of pressing accessories. So you'll see that the common theme there is I have a lot of pressing, a lot of chest, triceps, shoulders. Here I'm doing weighted dips, 198 pounds for 5 reps. I I believe this is a PR or very close to it. And overall, this felt really good. I like weighted dips a lot. I find that they tend to transfer over to my bench a lot, and I tend to use it a lot with a lot of my lifters as well. Now here's some of the back down stuff. I have a couple sets of 8 with 75 kilos, 165 pounds. Alrighty, now we're moving on to a sternal press around. So this is a pretty new movement to me. I've only been doing it the last couple months, and it's a pretty awkward movement. It's really like a combination of a chest press and a chest fly. I was originally supposed to be doing chest flies, but for whatever reason I was getting a lot of pain. I believe it was like pec tendon pain, and so this was a good substitute for that. Alright, now we're moving on to some shoulders. Here I got some lateral raises, 3 sets of 12. Really trying to push my accessories more than ever. I have a pretty bad habit of sandbagging my accessories, and so really putting an effort to try to push them. And so I actually do these supersetted with some bicep curls. So you'll see the curls right now. Making a crazy face there. Alright. So I misspoke. So tricep extensions, not bicep curls. 3 sets of 12 on this as well. So I do a cable tricep extension. I like these a lot. I tend to feel them a lot. So here I am trying to fight to get those last couple reps. And yeah, that was really good, and that was really solid, to be honest. I get a really good pump on this day, and so I enjoy doing these accessories. So now, halfway through week 4, I got sick. I got the flu. I was really, really sick. And so I skipped 2 days of training, and I didn't end up doing the last 2 days of that week. So the footage you're going to be seeing from now is actually week 1, so it's the following week. So this is kind of a reset. This is a lot lighter than what I would have done, you know, if I had completed the week 4 sessions. But you still get a good idea of like everything that I would do. It's just a good amount lighter because it is a week 1 for me. So here is day 3 of week 1. So here is some pause deadlifts. I've got 3 singles, and the weight is prescribed to me, so it's 557 pounds, pretty smooth. Those singles really, really help me to practice my technique and my positioning off the floor. And then I've got 1 volume set, regular competition deadlifts. You might notice that I have the straps on my wrist, but they're actually not strapped on the bar. And that is because I'm trying to work on my grip, so I'm trying to do as much of my training as I can without using the straps. But I have them on just in case my grip starts to give out, and then I just throw them on. Here is 540 pounds for a set of 4. Moved really good, really solid. After that, I've got some RDLs. So pretty much year round, we do around 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps. I tend to not push these a whole lot. I found that when I push them too hard, it tends to affect my deadlift. And I tweaked my back 4 or 5 weeks ago, and this was the main thing that was kind of bugging it, so I haven't really been pushing them too hard. Here we've got tempo bench, 5 sets of 4. I try to maintain the same weight if I can, so this is a week 1, it's pretty light, so I can definitely maintain the same weight, 145 kilos or 319 pounds. 3 seconds on the way down, just a regular standard pause. And now today I do a lot of back training, so I've got some single arm lat pull downs, 2 sets of 12 on this. Obviously I'm going to be doing both sides, but I'm only going to show just the one side. I'm leading a little bit to that one side just to kind of give the cable a straighter path. When I try to do it just straight up and down, the cable tends to kind of rub a little bit, create a little bit of friction. So I'm leaning on one side a little bit just to kind of make sure that the cable is able to move freely. And now here we got some standard cable rows. I'm using a mag grip, so it's just a brand of attachment. Feels pretty good. 2 sets of 12 on this. And once again, this is all pretty light because it's a week 1, so I'm not pushing it quite as hard as I would later on in the block. But I will be making an effort to progress them every single week. Alright, cool. So now we've got some rear delt flies. I like using the pec deck machine, or the rear delt fly machine. I tend to feel it a lot better than when I use dumbbells. So here I am doing 3 sets of 12 on this machine. And so these I actually superset with the bicep curls. I misspoke earlier, but here I am doing some curls with a cable machine. I'm actually kind of twisting my arms at the top to make it a little bit more similar to a bicep curl and not a hammer curl. So I am kind of twisting just a little bit at the top, and I do feel it a little bit more in my biceps when I do that. Nothing wrong with hammer curls. I just tend to like twisting a little bit just to get a little bit of extra peak in that bicep. Alrighty, and now to wrap up this session, 3 sets of 12 on the leg curl machine. I don't know about you guys, but I find that it's really, really tough to push leg accessories, just lower body accessories in general, really, really tough. And so I end up sandbagging these more than I should, but I'm definitely feeling it. It might look really easy, but I'm feeling it. All right, so that wraps up day 3. So now we're gonna move on to day 4. So day 4 is my middle squat day, and I've got some light bench press as well, or not light, but technical bench press. I have a top triple this block, followed by some back down sets of 5. So week 1, so this is relatively light for me, it's 518 pounds. This set was not very happy with. I didn't execute this super well. The bar was kind of sliding off my back a little bit, and so I was definitely trying to rush through the set, and I could feel it. I could feel that, you know, I was hitting the hole really hard, and just not being in control of the bar. And so I moved fine because the weight's relatively light for me, but I could tell this was not executed very well. So now I've got some 2-count bench press. I have a top single, 170 kilos. That moves super well. And I've got some back downs, competition bench press, 160 kilos for 2. Got a few sets there. And some accessory work for today, dumbbell flat bench. I really like these. Been doing them for a bit now, but pushing them more as of lately. And I really like putting my feet on the bench. For whatever reason, I just feel better. I know I could probably push a little harder if I had my feet on the ground, but it tends to feel pretty good and pretty comfortable to do it this way. So I just always put my feet on the bench. And so I'll definitely be pushing those, you know, as the block goes on, because that was pretty light. And now I got 2x12 on the leg extension machine. Once again, leg accessories are really tough. Really tough to push these. Obviously it looks very easy, and it probably is. I probably have more reps in reserve than what I should, but I'm definitely feeling it. Like I feel it as I'm doing it, and I feel it after the set. So, you know, I will be progressing these over the block, but this is fine for today. All right, and so that wraps up a training week for me. Obviously I showed the top sets that I would do in a day, right? I showed, and some back downs as well, but I do have volume work mixed in there. I have more reps and more sets than what I necessarily show, but you have a good idea of what a typical training week for me is like, right? Obviously, this, you know, it was a combination of a week 4 and a week 1, so the weights were vastly different. You know, they were really heavy in the beginning of the clips, and then, you know, lighter. But essentially, every block starts relatively light, and I'm building week to week up to a, you know, heavy intensity on that week 4. At least for these last few months, that's what I've been doing. Seems to be working really well for me, and so I think we're going to continue doing that as long as it continues to work. So, thank you for watching. Hope you learned something, and see you in the next one.